One wrong step, that's all it takes. One slip of your boot, and you vanish into a frozen lake. A cracked rib, a snapped femur, or worse. This isn't a movie, this is real bushcraft. Gone deadly wrong. Picture this. A man alone in the Canadian wilderness. He's experienced, confident, maybe a little too confident. Snow crunches under his boots as he builds his shelter near a frozen creek. He swings his axe for firewood, misses, slices into his leg. Blood soaks his pants. He has no cell signal, no satellite beacon. Hours pass. His fire dies. The cold creeps in like a living thing. He's losing blood, he's losing time. This actually happened. His name was Rick Collins. He was found 3 days later, barely alive, his leg blackened with frostbite, and all of it because of one misstep. That's how fast it happens. That's how fast bushcraft turns into survival. Or a tragedy. Bushcraft looks beautiful on YouTube. Campfires, hammocks, quiet solitude. But here's what nobody tells you. Most bushcraft fails don't start with something dramatic. They start small. A wet sock, a bad knife choice, a rushed fire, and then the wilderness snowballs it into a disaster. In this video, we're breaking down real bushcraft fails. Not myths, not theories, actual mistakes people made and what they paid for it. Some of these stories end in rescue. Others, not so lucky. And if you think this won't happen to you, then you're already at risk. Watch this before your next trip. It might save your life. He was just 16, out with friends, first real camping trip. He brought a cheap folding knife, no lockback, weak hinge. He was carving wood for kindling and the blade snapped shut on his fingers. Artery sliced, panic erupted. They had no bandages, only a shirt and duct tape. What saved him wasn't skill, it was dumb luck. He passed out. They carried him 2 miles until they found a hunter with a CB radio. Doctors said another 30 minutes and he would have bled out. John thought he could make a fire with just a ferro rod and dry moss. He didn't know the humidity was 98%. Every twig was soaked inside. He spent 5 hours striking sparks. Nothing. That night the temperature dropped and the rain came in sideways. Hypothermia doesn't ask for permission. He shivered for 12 hours. His core temperature dropped below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. By morning he couldn't feel his legs. Paramedics airlifted him. Diagnosis? Stage 2 hypothermia and nerve damage. Lisa was walking along a ridgeline at golden hour, taking pictures. One wrong footstep. The moss gave way. She tumbled 20 feet, hit a branch mid-fall, dislocated her shoulder. Her GPS tracker smashed on impact. She didn't know if anyone knew she was missing. She crawled, one arm limp, for 2 days to get back to the trail. She survived, but couldn't raise her left arm for months. He wanted to try the Bushcraft coffin shelter, tight, heat efficient, but he built it under a dead tree. That night wind picked up, a branch cracked, crashed through the roof, split his sleeping bag open. The tree didn't kill him, the cold almost did. With no insulation and torn gear, he spent the next night in a fetal position, shaking, hallucinating. A hunter found him 2 days later, crawling toward a frozen river. Everyone talks about food, no one respects water enough. Jason drank from a clear stream without boiling it. It looked clean. 3 days later, he couldn't stop vomiting. Giardia, fever, no energy. He lay in his tarp shelter for 48 hours, slipping in and out of consciousness. He had a filter, but he didn't want to unpack it. His mistake, laziness, his cost, 2 weeks in a hospital, kidney damage, almost lost his job. Cracked hands lighting a spark, a shaking match burning out in the wind, a blade slicing too deep, a fragile tarp blowing in a storm, frost forming on a sleeping bag, footsteps cracking thin ice, then silence, then static. He thought he knew enough. The forest doesn't care. Surviving the wild isn't about heroism, it's about respect. The forest doesn't forgive overconfidence. Nature has no sympathy. What starts as a peaceful escape can spiral fast. But every mistake shared is a life possibly saved. If you learned something today, check the link in the comments. There's more. Real stories, real tips, real gear that could make the difference. Your next trip might depend on it. Then there was Alex, weekend warrior, loved testing gear he saw on forums. He made a DIY alcohol stove, tiny, efficient but unstable. Wind picked up, flame jumped, the tarp caught fire. In seconds, everything around him was burning. Backpack, sleeping gear. His boots melted. He ran barefoot, tripping over roots, smoke in his lungs, burns on both legs. What started as a clever hack turned into a medevac rescue. Fire doesn't care if you're an amateur or a pro, it just consumes. Another man thought he could solo a 5-day hike in the Rockies. Confident, fit. He'd watched every survival video online, but he didn't mark his trail, didn't pack extra batteries. On day 3, fog rolled in. Visibility dropped to 2 meters. He wandered off trail. GPS dead. Compass forgotten. The forest swallowed him. He walked in circles for 48 hours, screaming, hallucinating from dehydration. Rescued only because a ranger noticed fresh tracks crossing his old path. One step wrong, and he was almost gone for good. Then there's the sound you don't want to hear, a crack underfoot. Sam heard it too late, crossing a snow-covered log bridge trying to get the perfect drone shot. His foot slipped. The fall was only 6 feet, but he landed ribs first on a stump. Broken rib, punctured lung, couldn't breathe, no cell service. He tapped SOS on his flashlight for hours, hoping someone, anyone, would see it through the trees. A trail runner did. Barely. Minutes later, and the pressure in his chest might have stopped his heart. You think it's simple, collect water, boil, drink. But Mark tried melting snow directly in a metal bottle on an open flame. He forgot to remove the lid. Steam built up. The bottle exploded. Shrapnel in his thigh. Snow stained red. Alone. Shock set in fast. He crawled 30 meters to his tarp, tried to wrap his leg with a towel. Passed out from blood loss. He survived, but only because a hiker noticed smoke that never moved. One oversight. One lid. Almost cost him everything. And don't forget wildlife. Anna heard the rustling at 3 in the morning, thought it was wind, but it was a bear. She stored food inside her tent, rookie mistake. The bear clawed through the canvas, panicked when the flashlight hit its eyes. It swiped, tore through her sleeping bag. She escaped barefoot into the cold, bleeding from her calf. She didn't sleep again for 2 nights, didn't camp again for 3 years, and the scariest part, the bear wasn't even hungry, just curious. One misstep, one granola bar in the wrong place. Visibility. That's what killed Eric. Dense fog, mountain edge. He stepped where he thought the path was. It wasn't. He fell 12 feet, hit rock, broke his ankle, couldn't stand, no one knew where he was. He'd told friends, I'll be offline for a few days. It took search and rescue 6 days to find him. Dehydrated, frostbite on 2 fingers. He said the silence was worse than the pain. The realization that no one was coming, that he was just gone from the world, invisible. Even routine can kill. Mike had done that trail a dozen times. Same river crossing, same rock. But that day, moss made it slicker. He slipped, landed spine first in shallow water, couldn't move his legs. Laid there for 6 hours, staring at the trees. Rain started. He could feel it on his face, but nowhere else. Paralyzed, screaming. Only saved when a group of scouts came by to take photos. Their leader had a whistle, blew it every 5 minutes. That noise saved Mike's life. The wilderness doesn't play fair, it doesn't warn you, it doesn't wait. Bushcraft isn't about being a hero, it's about surviving what you didn't plan for. Real fails don't look dramatic. They look like someone skipping breakfast, and then blacking out halfway up a slope. They look like a dull knife, causing a wound too deep to stop. They look like forgetting extra socks, and losing toes to frostbite. It's not sexy, it's not cinematic, it's real, it's raw, it's dangerous. These stories are real, they're brutal, and they all started with someone thinking, I got this. That's the phrase that kills: overconfidence, complacency, and the idea that it'll never happen to me. But nature doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your ego, your views, or your Instagram posts. It cares about survival. Are you really prepared?
Are you one of them? Really? While you might think you can get by with the resources in your local area, this is not always the case. In the event of a natural, civil, economic, or man-made disaster, the utilities and other services that you take for granted may instantly become unavailable, leaving you to fend for yourself. If you're not prepared ahead of time, you may not be doing all that you can do for yourself and for your family. But thankfully, preparing for the unexpected is easier and cheaper than you may think. But you need to start now. I mean, look at what's happening around you now. Even though you might not want to think about it, the what-if possibilities in life and all, the more you can consider what's possible, the more you can prepare for what is fairly unlikely. And there's a pretty long list of bad things which could happen. Natural disasters like tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunami, wildfires, blizzards, ice storms, drought, floods, etc., etc. And then health disasters like the flu or any new virus pandemic, disease or outbreak, or any other fatal epidemics. Then there's man-made, civil, or economic disasters such as terrorist attacks, wars, nuclear meltdowns, cyber attacks, blackouts, riots, on and on and on. When a disaster takes place, well, usually the unmanageable will happen. You don't have basic utilities, such as water or electricity, leaving you unable to cook your food, wash yourself, or if it's wintertime, no electricity will put you in danger of freezing inside your own home. You can't go to the store because the stores are closed or empty or being looted. And without provisions, your home stockpile of food will become sparse and soon you will face starvation. And in case of an earthquake, major flooding, or martial law, you won't be able to drive anywhere to get help. The streets will be closed or unprotected. Or your car may be out of gas. No gas station will be open to sell you gas. You get the idea. Everything will come to a stack of cards crumbling, and the world that you know today will not be totally different from the devastated world of tomorrow. And while many power outages and other disruptions in your everyday services may be uncomfortable, they could very well last for weeks or months or even years. So you got to have a plan B. But what will you do if there is no plan B and you don't have a clear idea about when you might get your services back? This is a bit of a reality check for most families, in all honesty. While you may want to do anything that you can do for your family, you might not have the supplies or the plan in place to ensure the health and safety of everyone that lives in your home. Today, I want to help you figure out how to start planning and start preparing for the unthinkable. If you're feeling badly about not being prepared, you're not alone. And most importantly, it's not your fault, as you've been always lulled by the government or the media into false sense of security that everything will be fine, as if it's magic. Now, just because you're not the only one who's unprepared doesn't mean that you can count on someone else to help you out. But since you're probably one of many who may be still unprepared, then you need to focus more on getting yourself prepared, or else you might end up not getting any help at all when the disaster strikes. Pretty much everyone will be on their own. So what can you do about it, you ask? Well, today things are finally about to change for you. I don't want you to go through what my grandparents-in-law had to go through. And I don't want you to be left alone with no food, no water, medicine, or shelter. I don't want you to be afraid at all. Instead, I want you to be fully prepared and equipped with a skill set that not many Americans have. I want you to be truly safe and to be able to get through anything with the peace of mind that everything that you care for, you, your family, your house, your pets, even your car or boat, will still be there long after a crisis will pass. And that's why I've gathered all my 27 years worth of survival knowledge together, everything I've learned firsthand about coping with disaster from those who actually survived hurricanes, earthquakes, and virus pandemics. All the do's and don'ts coming from military professionals, and put them into a series of easy to follow and ready to implement survival guides that anyone can use immediately in order to secure themselves and their loved ones. And I've called this the Ultimate Survival Guide Pack. The only survival guide which will melt fear and doubt from your heart and give you the absolute power to make it through any virus, flu, or pandemic crisis, and really any other crisis as well. But before I reveal exactly what you're going to get in the Ultimate Survival Guide pack, let's take a look at what Ron from Texas had to say. Frank, this guide is incredible. My wife and I got it yesterday. We couldn't put it down. We finished the whole thing in one day and had no idea how unprepared we were, and that scared us to death. But then, as I got further on in your guides, the fear started to melt away, just like you said. I just took those simple steps and suggested, now, I don't worry about the pandemic at all. Here's another one from Henry J. from the state of Indiana. Frank, I was a complete fool. For so many months, I listened only to people who had no idea what they were talking about. I thought I was prepared, but every day I'd find out that there was still something missing, that there was one more thing that I didn't think of. I didn't know what to do anymore. Then I got your guides. It was like a miracle. Now I can finally say that I am fully prepared. I've gone from no survival skills whatsoever to full expert survivalist in no time. And finally, I'm sure that whatever will come, I'll be among the survivors. And that's just a few of hundreds of emails that I get every day. Okay, so let me tell you what exactly you're going to get in the Ultimate Survival Guide pack. Well, first of all, I've decided an essential survival guide pack comprised of 3 parts. First, you get the short-term survival guide. In survival, there's a basic rule of 3s, which says you can live without air for 3 minutes, water for 3 days, and food for 3 weeks. Many survival experts also say that you can live without critical thinking for about 3 seconds. This means that if you don't have something readily available, panic might set in, and in just 3 seconds, you could lose your life. Live by the rule of 3s, and you'll be one of the ones that makes it through the survival situation without too much discomfort. The worst case scenario faced by those who play it by ear is that soon the provisions and stocks they've made eventually will run out quicker than anticipated. In such a situation, without any way or means to restock your supplies, your survival rate drops like a rock in a single-digit range, leaving the safety of your home to forage for any resources that you may find. Facing possibly contaminated areas, looters, or any other unknown dangers is a scenario that anyone must absolutely avoid. So, just as in any news situation, the more planning you do now, the less worrying and the less stress you'll have during an actual emergency or a true disaster. With the short-term survival guide, you'll learn everything you need to know how to survive from the very beginning. From how to prepare your own 72-hour survival kit with water, food, shelter, medicine, warmth, lighting, power sources, fuel, and tools, to how to secure transportation or how to communicate with others if the telephone lines stop working. Plus, you'll master essential first aid skills and, best of all, how to prepare and plan for unknown threats during crisis escalation. But that's not even the best part yet. The second part of the Essential Survival Guide pack deals with how to prepare for a full home lockdown in case of pandemics like the new flu pandemic, for example. Governments urge people to stay indoors in small areas. This is the common sense thing to do. But if you're not fully prepared, soon your home may turn into a deadly prison. In this report, you'll master the ultimate tactics for defending your home in case you'll need to quarantine and isolate yourself for long periods of time. Please, please, take a second and think about this. Is your home really ready to support you through a major crisis? Preparing for the end of the world as we know it has become an increasing concern for many people around the globe. The full home lockdown is a guide for people who have already started preparing for the worst case scenario, but want to do a bit further with home protection. Your home may be protected from a one-time burglary, a break-in, or a minor natural disaster,